looking at the past and understanding, okay, acknowledging the fact that you're going to go through situations in a deal or in a contract or in some sort of business, a situation where you're going to run into obstacles. You're going to hit a wall, you're going to run into an obstacle, someone's not going to call you back, a contract's going to be wrong, there's a lot that can go on. You just have to accept that that's going to happen. And then you've heard the famous saying, right? It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it.
Yes.
Right? Well, there's a lot of truth in that.
Tony Robbins
right?
is a huge thing about.
Yeah.
He speaks a lot about that.
Yeah.
That's definitely the truth behind everything. So how do you take a mistake and turn it into something better for yourself in the future?
So I love this question, right? So the way you do it is acknowledge.
Yeah.
Acknowledge
that you've messed up.
Yeah, acknowledge that you've messed up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do everything in your power to say, okay, I understand the result that happened, right? Regardless of the mindset you were in at the time when you made the mistake. Because a lot of people, when they make a mistake, they don't realize they're making a mistake.
It just happens.
Right? It just happens, right? And unfortunately,
and that's part of growing.
It's part of growing.
Yeah.
It's part of learning, right? And, when you have that is to know, A, did you acknowledge it? That's the number one. Acknowledge it, right? Admit it, acknowledge it, right?
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people that I've spoken to can't even come to admit the fact
they
that
can't.
Yeah.
They can't. It's like,
ego
look,
is just too high.
It's like, look, I'm not sitting here trying to say anything. It's like mistakes are going to happen. Like
we're human.
Gonna happen.
It's in our code. Like we're human. That's just how it is.
If you can show me one person that went through life, right, that never made any mistakes outside of Jesus, right? Because I can't think of anybody else, right? You tell me how they responded to
that.
And
I think honestly, living a life with no mistakes would be boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are the experiences? Where are the lessons?
That's the fun part of it.
What are you going to be able to do? You're going to sit down there and talk with someone and say, oh, well, I look at it for my future. Oh, if in the future, if a kid comes up to me or, I'm having a conversation with a child or something like that, and he says, well, how do I do this? I can say, well, I can tell you what not to do because I can tell you how it affected me.
Yes.
And the decision I made.
And that's the beauty of mentorship.
That's the beauty of mentorship. That's the beauty of having a healthy, family. I attribute a tremendous amount of my, ability to learn is to talk with, mentorships, father figures, my own family, my mother, my father, and and you learn even the coolest things from kids, right? And I think the perfect definition. I even avoid looking at the term entrepreneurial, right? I look at the American enterprise system, right?
So what do you call yourself?
I'm a businessman.
A businessman.
I'm a businessman.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a businessman. And with an entrepreneurial spirit, a spirit of vigor.
Okay.
Right?
All
Vigor.
Right.
You need vigor. And I think that when you look at what we have here, it's a spirit of trying to better oneself. Okay. It's interesting, and
figuring yourself out, is that what it is?
Kind of, but it's like or a dream. You talk about dreams.
Yes.
I always ask this question when I am talking with people because I deal with a lot in international government, international relations. It was part of my educational background. I worked for the Greek consulate for a little bit. I worked for some embassies, consulted with some government entities on an international level, kind of at the prime minister level, parliamentary level in some other countries. Some controversial countries too, might I add. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that I've noticed is even if you go to these other countries, they don't talk about their country's dream. Like if you go to France or Italy or Spain or Japan or China, it's not like, oh, I want the Chinese dream, right? Or I want the French dream, right? It's always the American dream. Right? Have you ever noticed that? It's the American dream, right? It's the American dream.
The system here is created.
What does that mean? The American dream. Why don't we have people here going to Brazil saying, "I want the Brazilian dream"?
It's because of the spirit that goes on over here.
It's exactly right. It's the spirit that goes into it, right?
Entrepreneurial spirit, yes.
And so one of my mentors. He's like an amazing individual in the aviation space, and he's the owner of Abjet here. He always tells me, he says, he always says tenacity beats out intellect every time, right? You can be the smartest person in the room, the wealthiest person in the room, everything, but it will not beat out tenacity. Tenacity beats out intellect every time. And that's the ability that every day you get up, every day you keep trying something, and every day you keep working. Because sooner or later it'll hit, but it'll hit in the timing it's supposed to happen, right? So, and I think that's some of the most, positive things that go on.
Yeah, a mentor of mine told me recently is the way you want to think of it is as long as you just continue and you continue to grind, you continue to work, time and the world will catch up to you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.